Okay, I hope that you enjoy tonight's video. We're going to be looking at this men's Seiko watch. It's a Seiko 5 automatic with 21 jewels. And it's just a very handsome watch and very, very affordable. Let's talk about a few things that I think are really interesting. Maybe you'll think they're interesting as well. It's a Seiko and a 5. What does the 5 stand for? Well, what does that series mean? What the 5 there is an entry level of Seiko automatic watches. Seiko has the series 5 all the way up to the King Seikos and then the Grand Seikos that are, some of those are automatic as well. But this is an entry level watch. This is a type of watch that I can afford and most people can afford. Many of us don't want to spend $2,000 on a King Seiko or $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 on a Grand Seiko, but we do like these Seiko 5s. Obviously it has this blue dial that I think it just stands out. It's almost a purple color. And I really like it. It has these chrome colored hour markers. I know they're stainless steel, but man, they look like chrome to me. Just real shiny, just real handsome. The hour hand, minute hand are also chrome colored, stainless steel, polished, heavily polished. They're also glow in the dark, the hour hand, minute hand, as well as the markers here on the very tips of each one of these hour markers. Is also glow in the dark. We'll be looking at that here in a minute. Okay, so here's the beautiful Seiko watch here in the dark, and as you can see, the hour hand and the minute hand glow wonderful, and you can clearly see all the hour markers. Okay, so as I was saying, it's a Seiko 5 watch, and the 5 series is an entry level for Seiko automatic watches. Seiko makes automatic watches from all the way from $200 all the way up into $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 into their King Seiko and then into their Grand Seiko series. This watch here, it's a few years old. I think it's about 3 years old, and it has a price tag of somewhere in here. I don't know what I did with it. Anyway, it's a very inexpensive watch. I think it's like $200. No, it's $185 new retail. Just very affordable. Automatic, 21 joules to the day date. Now the Series 5, I found some information on that I think is real interesting. I found out two sets of information that were kind of conflicting, so I just kind of allow the viewer to do their own thinking as to what the 5 means. Of course, as we already mentioned, it's the entry point, but it has 5 points about it. First is an unbreakable mainspring. Second is shock resistant. Third, it has to be automatic, so all Seiko 5s are automatic. Fourth, it has the day-date feature, so all Seiko 5s have the day-date feature. And then 5, water resistant. Now another source that I was looking at said that in addition to that, all Seiko 5s have a crown in the number 4 position. So the two lists are just a little bit different as to what the 5 stands for, but it does stand for something along that line. This particular watch is the SNK793, and I really recommend it. I know I've already said that, but I love this watch. I think it looks really, really good, really handsome. You see how the bezel here is highly polished, and then the case is this kind of a brushed stainless steel. As you would expect from a Seiko, it's a very high quality stainless steel bezel, case, and watch bracelet. The crystal is a hard Lex crystal, as a Seiko house brand. But that's not a disparaging statement, because it's a very high quality crystal. It's both scratch resistant and shatter resistant, and they're very good crystals, the Hardlex crystals. Okay, the movement on this watch is called the 7S26 caliber. And this movement's been around since 1996. It's been used for many years, and why not? It's a good movement, tried and true. It's a good movement. Let's see here. It is made in Malaysia, and that's okay. In order to keep the prices down, some of the Seiko watches, the movements and the watches themselves, are made in Malaysia. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would prefer one that has a Japanese-made movement and made in Japan, assembled in Japan, and so forth. But Seiko does make those watches, and I have reviewed those watches, and they're very nice. But many times, those particular watches are a little bit out of people's price range, what they can afford. So I like this watch, and I think it is, for $185, the best watch you can get for $185. It's really nice. The accuracy of the watch is plus or 30 seconds a day. Okay, and so let's go ahead and look at something here. Alright, let's just kind of get this on. If we hear noises in the background, we have some neighbors, so that's what that is. Can the camera see the movement?
Yeah.
Okay, what we see here is a mechanical movement. It has this caliber that goes back and forth, and that's automatic winding. Okay. What we don't see here is we do not see any batteries, do we? It's purely mechanical. There's no batteries. Alright. And as I'm sure many of us know, particularly everybody who watches this channel I'm sure knows, but young people may not, the first watches that came out were, of course, wind-up watches, and then they came out with wind-up automatic watches that were also mechanical. Then they came out with hybrid watches that were both battery-powered and mechanical. And then about 1969, I believe it was Seiko themselves who came out with a pure quartz movement. I think they're the ones who pioneered that technology. The accuracy is within plus or 30 seconds a day. So when you get one of these watches in the mail, an automatic watch or a wind-up watch, a mechanical watch, remember, it's not going to keep perfect time. It's going to be off. It could be off as much as 30 seconds a day. It's no big deal. Just reset your watch once a week. But they're not going to keep as good a time as a Seiko quartz or Timex quartz or any quartz, really. But they're really cool watches. They just they're not going to keep quite as good a time as a quartz, and that's okay. Here's I wrote this. I hope I spelled compare right. Compare to Seiko SNK793 quartz watch, and it only loses half a second per day. And this is the quartz movement. So the mechanical automatic, entry-level automatic, can lose 30 seconds a day, but their quartz watch, this one here, only loses half a second a day. And this watch here is very affordable. I think it's $250. So you can see why I wanted to do this comparison. If you have a job that requires you to have an extremely accurate watch, then you probably want to go with a quartz. I really like these mechanical automatics myself, but I also really like Seiko quartz watches as well. I'd like to compare it real quick to a King Seiko, and yeah, they did come out with a King Seiko in a limited edition for the year 2021 this year, and I think it's already sold out. And the movement is a 6L35 automatic movement, and it had a plus and minus 15 seconds a day that it could lose or gain. This entry level movement could lose 30 seconds a day, so this one's a whole lot better. The price of that watch is $4,000. We also see the Seiko Prestige SJE073J1. It costs $2,200, and it's also plus and minus 15 seconds, and that's an automatic watch as well. There is a Grand Seiko that we don't hear a whole lot about, but it is under the Seiko umbrella, and it's the Grand Seiko line. That's the top of the line, caliber 9R01, and it has 56 jewels. It's a manual wind movement, and it only loses or gains 10 seconds per month for a mechanical watch. That's extremely good, isn't it? So this watch here that we've been looking at, let's kind of return our attention to this. This is a $185 watch. This watch will lose or gain up to 30 seconds per day. The top of the line Grand Seiko will lose 10 seconds per month, and it's also mechanical. But that watch will also cost tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars for the top of the line Seikos. Okay, the temperature range of these watches, let's talk about that for a minute. They work best, according to Seiko, when the temperature is between 41 degrees and 95 degrees. They still work at lower temperatures and higher temperatures, but that's when they work. They're most accurate during those temperatures. The size is a 36.5 millimeter case, not including the crown. And so there we go. And my wrist, for reference, is a 7 3/8 inch wrist, so that kind of gives you an idea. It's a classic sized watch, and I really like that size. I know I've said that in many of my videos, but it is my preference. Okay, alright, so that's a classic sized watch. Watches from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even today there's some that are that size. They're just a very classic size. The weight of the watch is 3.8 ounces, and that's a good weight. There are some gentlemen who, when they buy these watches, they do put on leather watch straps, and that's okay too. We'll talk about that in a future video, but it's a good weight. Let's go ahead and look at this bracelet here. The Seiko 5, of course. It has this button clasp. Okay. This is how most modern Seiko watches are. Just give me just a second. Let me show you this watch. This one's a little bit older, also a Seiko. Notice how it has this clasp. Certainly nothing wrong with that, as there's wonderful. This clasp is a little bit better in that it's kind of a safety thing there. Okay, let's see here. It has a 40-hour power reserve. That means when it is fully charged, it will run and keep good time for 40 hours. What do I mean when I say fully charged? What a person can do when they buy an automatic watch is they put it on a watch winder. You can buy watch winders on eBay for $40, $50. It'll keep your watch completely wound up to where it needs to be, and you can just put it on your nightstand. If you have an automatic watch or just a wind-up watch that isn't automatic, and you notice that it starts moving really slowly or it stops, of course what that means is that it's not fully charged. And maybe that's not the right word, but when we oscillate this back and forth, that winds that mainspring. And when that mainspring is real tight or wound up completely the way it's supposed to be, then that watch can keep time for 40 hours. Okay. Alright, now something that I need to mention here is that this movement is Malaysia. I've already mentioned there's nothing wrong with that. There is, right now, a huge seller on the internet who accidentally says that the movement in this watch is a Japanese movement. That's a huge mistake. This is not a Japanese movement. And I'm sure that the company who did that, I'm sure it's an honest mistake. But the Japanese movements that are automatic will cost 3 times as much as this watch. Okay, I already mentioned that the movement was introduced in 1996. This is a $185 watch, but it was made several years ago. I think this is a 2019 model, but I'm not absolutely sure about that. And you can buy them right now on Amazon or eBay in new old stock condition for $220 new, 100% new, but they just have never been bought by anybody yet. And that's what new old stock is. And you can find them for about $120, $130 on eBay or Amazon and in other places. Okay, let me go ahead and look at some other things here just super quick. Alright, first we remind ourselves that it is an automatic. We see how that oscillates back and forth. I'm not sure if the camera can get that or not, but that's okay. Let me see that it's running real nice, and it has this clear back, which is real handsome. It looks real good. It also has this polished back, screw down back case. I like it when they're screwed down. I don't like it when they're snapped on. And Seiko has a screw down back lid here. I'll just use the word lid. Alright, I think that's real handsome. Again, we notice that the crown here is in the 4 position, which is fine. It's just a push-in crown. It's not a screw-in. If a watch has a screw-in crown, that would mean it's a diver. We see this watch, and it doesn't have water resistant written on the dial, but it does have water resistant written back here. And I'd like for you to take my word for that, because it's kind of hard to catch. But when you have a watch, a Seiko watch, that has just the word water resistant next to it, that means it is this a very basic water resistance, a 3-bar watch. And what that means is it's probably good for light rainstorms, but you wouldn't want to wear it in the pool or in the shower or diving or anything like that. If you were to do that, it'd be terrible because it would ruin the watch. I just can't get over how handsome it is. It's a really nice watch. Okay. Let me just go over my piece of paper here just real quick. I do this because I'm kind of apprehensive that I'm going to miss something. I sure don't want to do that. It's a 2019 Seiko 5 men's watch. What does 5 stand for? We already talked about those things that stands for. It's a SNK793. So if you like this specific watch, just type that into eBay or Amazon. This watch will come up. The model of it is a 7S2602J0. And that is found here on the back of the watch. And because it's a clear back, I hope you'll forgive me for not being able to zoom in on that. It's kind of hard to do that. It also has this number here, this 6-digit date code, starting with the 2009 and the 9 here, which means 2019 in this case. And it's right there. Can you catch any of that at all?
Yeah.
That etching?
Yeah.
Okay. So on these watches, when you look for that, it's not going to be on the movement. It's kind of hard to, it'll take you just a second, but that's where it's at. It's on this polished part right there. Okay, we already talked about comparing it to a quartz. We talked about how it's a really cool watch, but it won't keep perfect time. One thing I did notice is I was looking at reviews of this particular watch on Amazon, and it got a 4.3 out of 5 rating, which is really good. But I looked at the reviews on Amazon, and you can do the same thing. The reviews, and the reason why many people didn't get it a 5 out of 5 score, a perfect score, is because they were complaining that did not keep perfect time. I think that many, maybe younger people or many people in general, do not realize that these are mechanical. They're not battery powered. And mechanical watches simply do not keep as good a time as battery powered watches unless you buy a extremely expensive Grand Seiko, something along that line. They don't have batteries in them, and they don't keep as good a time. So the complaints, well, if you go to Amazon or any other place and you see a review of 4.3 or say 4.0 out of 5, don't allow that to discourage you from buying the watch. Look at, why is that not getting a full review? Is it a silly reason or is it a legitimate reason? In the case of this watch, it's a silly reason. People were complaining that this watch doesn't keep as good time as a quartz watch. No mechanical watches in this price range comes close to the accuracy of a quartz watch. So, when I would score this watch, if I were asked to score it, I would give it a 5 out of 5. For this price point, you can't get a better watch, hands down. Alright, well, I guess that's about it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed preparing for this, and my wife films it, and we had a good time. I guess this watch relates to me because this is the type of watch I wear, this type of watch that I can afford, and many people that I know can afford. My wife and I are Christians, and we're very thankful to be Christians. If you have any questions about Christianity, you can ask me. I'm not an expert, but I'll at least do my best to answer any questions, or maybe point you in the direction of somebody who can answer your question better. Because we are Christians, all of our videos are family friendly. We don't ever use any bad words or have bad attitudes in any of our videos. We have about 160, 170 other watch related videos. Many of them are watch reviews, and I encourage you to watch them. Many of them are Seikos and Timex. And if you like our videos, please subscribe. Well, thank you for watching, and have a good night.